Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for coming. If you could find your seats, that would be absolutely wonderful. I'm Rebecca Winthrop. I'm the director of the Center for Universal Education here at Brookings. Welcome to all of you, many distinguished guests, folks who have traveled from far distances especially, welcome to you, as well as folks who are joining us by webcast. We have a whole other online audience, and please do send in your comments and questions. We'll be taking questions via Twitter at hashtag GirlsEDU. I'm really excited to be kicking off a 3-hour conversation with all of you about girls' education, a personal passion of mine. And before I do, I just want to say a huge thanks to Echidna Giving and the Malala Fund, who are wonderful partners and have helped support this event. What I want to do to get us started is really talk about 3 things. 1, why do we care about girls' education? 2, what progress has been made to date? And 3, where should we go from here? What should be our priorities moving forward? This is something, it's sort of a brief overview of some of the research my colleague Eileen McGivney and I have been doing. You may have picked up a copy of the paper out front, Raising the Global Ambition for Girls' Education. So to get started, why do we care about girls' education? First and foremost, I think all of us would agree, it's because it's a girl's right to get educated. It's as much a girl's right to get educated when she lives in northern Uganda as it is a girl's right to get educated when she lives in New York City. And the reason it's incredibly important to think about rights at this point in time is because when we're going to spend the next 3 hours and in all the work we do talking about strategies that are going to help girls in the work we do, we're not talking about charity. We're not talking about girls asking for a handout. We're talking actually about all of our collective responsibility to make good on that promise that every girl and boy should get educated. The other reason we care about girls' education, the royal we, is because it has incredible developmental ripple effects. When girls get educated, their lives are better, they earn more money, their children are healthier, their families are stronger, their communities are stronger. One of the most powerful studies that's come out recently is from the Lancet, one of the top-tier medical journals, that talks about how half of the reduction in child mortality, so kids dying before they're 5 years old, between 1970 and 2009 is directly responsible to girls' education and girls getting educated. So that's why we care. So what have we done about it collectively as a global community? The Education for All goals and the Millennium Development Goals, which I'm sure most everybody knows about, has been an incredible driving force for global energy, resource, policy prioritization at country level around girls' education. And it's been basically focused on these 2 things, making sure girls and boys get into school, primary school in equal numbers, and that we reduce the gaps in gender disparities. So how have we done? Here's 1990. The dark red are where girls are severely disadvantaged, so number of countries, about 37 countries in 1990 where girls are severely disadvantaged at primary school level. And severely disadvantaged means less than 85 girls per 100 boys are enrolled. And there's a chunk of countries, 86 countries, where you have, in yellow, where girls and boys are actually enrolled at primary more or less in equal numbers. It's between 97 girls to 103 girls per 100 boys, more or less. You have gender parity. That's the yellow. So where are we at now? Here's 2012. Actually, a huge leap, a really big leap forward. You'll see that the yellow countries have expanded. Now we have 124 countries around the world where there's gender parity, and only at primary, and only 11 countries disadvantaged. Still a chunk of countries where girls are somewhat disadvantaged. So you would think that that is fabulous, and it is fabulous. And I have been in conversations in sort of the global policy discourse where people say, that's great, girls' education, we've done it, we still know we have a little bit of work to do, but we could probably shift our global focus onto other issues. We can tick that box, we've done it well. And when you look at this, at the data at primary level, you can understand where folks are coming from. But let's take a look at the data at secondary school level. Here's 1990, and actually it's incredibly profound that there are more countries in the world in 1990 where girls are disadvantaged or boys are disadvantaged, a huge bunch of countries where girls are severely disadvantaged, than when there's equal numbers of girls and boys attending at secondary. Here we are in 2012. Progress, yes, but not a great picture at secondary level, not a great picture at all. You have roughly a third of the countries where girls are disadvantaged, a third of the countries where they're more or less enrolled in secondary school in equal numbers, a third of the countries where boys are disadvantaged. And I want to tell just a brief story. I was at home yesterday, and I told my son, listen, I have to leave early in the morning. I have a conference at work, and he's 6 years old, and he said, oh, a conference. Yes, a conference. What's your conference on, Mom? And I said, it's on girls' education. It's very important. And he said, well, what about the boys? And actually, it's a very good question. And I've had similar conversations with colleagues not in the education space necessarily, in the global policy arena, who argue, listen, we've made great progress at primary, and if you look at the data globally, I don't understand why we're having such a focus on girls' education, because actually there's a lot of boys who are disadvantaged too. Is it not time to sort of move on from this focus on girls' education, and really think about the boys? And my response, both to my son and to people who make this argument is the following, which is absolutely boys need assistance just as much as girls need assistance in those countries. However, they're very different issues. They're located in different countries. Their root causes are very different. The interventions and solutions to reaching either population are probably going to be very different. Let's take a look at where in the 2012 those red countries are located and those blue countries are located on the world map. You see blue countries are large, so where boys are disadvantaged is largely in Latin America. More middle-income countries, it has to do with boys having larger opportunities to enter the workforce than girls often, and them wanting to exit secondary education because of low-quality schooling. And where girls are disadvantaged is this band of countries across Southwest Asia, some in the Middle East, and Sub-Saharan Africa. And it's for very different reasons, which we'll go into in a minute, but child marriage, social norms, a whole range of things. And so my argument would be that, in the global discourse, in our global debates, we should really perhaps start focusing in on girls' education hotspots. It might be, and it's quite fair to say that, girls' education is no longer a large global, is not necessarily a global dialogue, but it's certainly something we should all care about vis-a-vis where girls are disadvantaged. And I think in terms of where do we go from here, there's two things. One, as I said, let's focus on girls' education hotspots. And two, what should we do when we focus on those girls' education hotspots? My argument is really that we should hone in, we should try to quote unquote finish the job. Let's hone in on second generation issues. We've made huge progress in primary. Let's keep going and lift our sort of global debate up around a range of second generation issues. And these are all issues that groups around the world have been working on in their own separate ways. Initiatives have been working on in their own separate ways for many years, but they haven't yet taken center stage in the global dialogue. So let's go through. What are the second generation issues? First of them is getting girls to finish secondary school. And this is a graph, what you're looking at now, is in those red countries, in those girls' education hotspots, numbers of girls who have entered in first grade and how many finish at secondary. And you just see the massive drop-off that happens. And if we really want to focus on girls getting to the end of secondary school, we absolutely have to be honest with ourselves and realize that we have to lean in on making sure they complete primary education. We cannot, I've been in some circles, say, well, primary is done, let's just shift all our funding and focus to secondary. We have to lean in on primary education and make sure we get them through to the end to secondary. Another thing to take a quick look at, and the only thing I really want you to look at with this slide is that this is a slide of incidence of child marriage. The big bubbles are where half the girls in these countries are married before the age of 18, the really big circles. And you'll see that it just covers right across that band of red countries where there's girls' education hotspots. A second issue, second generation issue, is safety. Violence, harassment, attacks, including to and from, in and around schools, are huge problems that girls face around the world. And really, we cannot stand by and continue to let it happen. The Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attack, it's a mouthful, but they have documented 15 countries around the world where girls are systematically attacked because they're trying to go to school. I mean, there are girls who are, in this day and age, 2012, we can create a self-driving car out in California, but we still have girls in the globe who are, dying because they want to go to school. It just does not seem right. Third issue is quality. You'll see the very top bar here is basically in North America and Europe, 96% of kids make it to 4th grade and learn basic reading. I'm not talking Shakespeare, just basically how to read. Very few kids, both boys and girls, in these girls' education hotspot countries actually make it that far, as you can see from the chart here. Fourth issue is transitions. So you get girls to the end of secondary by ensuring quality learning and that they're safe. We have to work on ensuring that girls can transition into higher education and also into livelihoods that are secure and dignified. Lastly, and this is the theme of this conference today, local leadership. We argue that in order to really make good on those 4 other priorities of access, safety, quality, and transitions, we need to lean in on something that we've all stated we know is important, which is putting girls themselves, their parents, community leaders at the forefront of designing solutions and leading this change. These second generations are much more complex than just building schools, making them free, making them compulsory, which is a bit of the recipe for getting kids into primary school. We need to deal with social norms, socio and political nuances. And, for example, the way to make girls safe in northern Nigeria is going to look very different, although it is a similar goal, in the way to make girls safe in India. So with that, in summary, that is our recommendation, something we put forward to you for discussion of where we should go from here and what we should focus on. And I'm really looking forward to the next set of panels and discussions with all of you to bring you one voice, though, by video of a local leader herself. I want to share a little video with you of a recent Nobel Peace Prize winner, Malala Yousafzai, and her father Ziauddin were planning to be here, but we're very sorry when the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony is this very week in Oslo. So we told them, really, don't worry. You're doing a much more important thing, and we're very, as a global education community, we're incredibly happy that both Kailash, who for our community is incredibly important because he was a co-founder of the Global Campaign for Education and has done decades of work on child rights and education and child labor, as well as Malala, were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. So here, let's show the video.
Hello, my name is Malala Yousafzai.
And hello, my name is Ziauddin Yousafzai. And the girl standing beside me, once she was my daughter, but now I'm her father. And I'm a teacher.
We're really sorry that we can't be there. It was because that the Nobel event and this event are both at the same time. But we are really thankful to you for your hard work and for starting this campaign. And we are really pleased that the Malala Fund is joining it. And we are going to work together because we have the same dream. We want children, especially girls, to get quality education and work for their secondary education especially. So it's going to bring a big change when we work together and when we see the local leaders performing from their side and helping us in in making sure that girls' voices are heard, and we think about their future, and we make sure that they get quality education.
And we are also very pleased and very excited that the Malala Fund is the part of the Charge initiative, which is working with the Brookings. We are also very excited and we feel very proud that the local leaders are there in this very big gathering, and we welcome them and we say special hello to them. We are also very thankful to the Center for Universal Education of Brookings. So thank you all.
Our well wishes are with her for her big days. So now we're going to move on to the meat of the discussion. Just as a quick précis, we have two panels with a short break in between. And right afterwards, please do join us across the hall for a reception co-sponsored with the Global Partnership for Education. So that's how the event's going to go. And now I want to introduce the first moderator of our panel and invite the panelists in a moment to join me on stage. Gene Sperling will be known to everyone, I think, but just as a recap, you'll know him from the Clinton administration as well as the Obama administration, where he served as director of National Economic Council for both. I think, Gene, you were the only person to do that for two administrations. But more importantly for our gathering here, he's a passionate advocate for global education, and in particular for girls' education. And he has been someone who I have relied on over the years for strategic guidance and advice. He's incredibly thoughtful and smart and generous. And most importantly, he was the founder of the Center for Universal Education. And I owe him a huge thanks because he recruited me. To him and my boss here, Kamal Dervish, for hiring me. So we're very pleased to both welcome you to the stage, Gene, but also to welcome him back into the fold of the Center for Universal Education as the chair of our advisory council. So Gene, please join me on stage as well as the panelists. Please do come up.